Welcome back to my channel. I want to just say right off the bat, this video is going to have a little bit of background noise because I live in a small apartment in a crowded city. Hopefully you'll find it kind of like atmospheric, like an ambiance type of thing going on. Because I welcome you into my little corner of the room. I have a cat sitting beside me off camera. And I thought tonight, even with all the sirens and planes, what is going on out there? I thought tonight we could read some spooky stories. I hope that other people find ghost stories as calming as I do. I mean, I just really enjoy them. So the book that I wanted to read from today is called Haunted America. Haunted America. Ghost stories, true tales of terror. Such a fun little haunted house cover. I'm looking for the author of this, but I'm wondering if it's even noted. So you notice my copy of this lovely book is kind of worn. It has a crease. It has a crease all on the front. I've had this book since 2013, so it makes sense that it's kind of worn, honestly. I was never really good at keeping books in good shape, even though I like reading them. But I got this book on the Queen Mary for my birthday in 2013, when I stayed there. So, I dog-eared a few spots in the book with some interesting story titles. The book is made up of a bunch of different stories or tales of haunted spots all across America. So, if you ever want to go on a Haunted USA tour, this book would probably be a great reference guide. You know what I'm noticing? My hands are kind of dry. And I have hand cream. Unless you're sitting on it. Are you sitting on it? No, you can sit there. It's okay, I'm sorry. Oh, okay, yeah, sit down, sit down. I got the cat mad. But I have hand cream. The scent is moringa. Sorry, the cat needs love and attention. Otherwise The scent is moringa, and you could just hear the cat's mouth sounds. She's so funny. Anyway. Are you okay? Huh? Okay. So this hand cream scent is called moringa. Let's use the hand cream. It's actually body butter. This is like brand new. That's like just visual ASMR right there. If I do say so myself. Just it smells so nice. It's very like jasmine scent. I don't know if moringa is like related to jasmine or something. All my plant fiends to let me know. It smells so good. Let's finally get to the first story, shall we? The first story is called The Cave of the Murderous Witch. The Cave of the Murderous Witch. There have been ghostly encounters in almost every small town in the world, but Adams, Tennessee might be the only place where a ghost was held responsible for the death of a human being. Meet the Bell family. In 1817, John Bell Sr. was inspecting a field on his farm in northern Tennessee. That's when he came across a strange beast that he described as dog-like with a rabbit-like head. When John shot at the creature, it ran into the woods. A short time later, the Bell family started to experience odd things in their home. It started out as soft knocks, but soon it sounded like an animal was biting or gnawing on the house. The Bell family searched the building for mice, but they found nothing. Next, they heard what sounded like rocks hitting the house, and then it sounded like rocks were being thrown from inside the house. Once again, the family's searches turned up nothing. John Bell and his youngest daughter, Betsy, were also attacked by an unseen force. Betsy was frequently pushed, grabbed, and slapped by the invisible intruder. John Bell asked his neighbors if they had any ideas about what was occurring. The neighbors spent some time in the Bell home and witnessed the unusual activity themselves. They suggested conducting an investigation. John Bell reluctantly agreed, and several friends were invited over. The investigations begin. The way these are written is so funny to me. Like, and I have to say the font is like that. What font is that? Like spooky something, but super cute. When the investigation began, thumping sounds were heard throughout the house. Soon the thumps and groans began to sound like someone growling or clearing their throat. And then it happened. The creature began to speak. It said that it wanted to stop Betsy Bell from marrying a local boy named Joshua Gardner. Okay, the spirit's really invested in like the local whatever, like drama. It also said that it wanted to kill John Bell. Yikes. When asked why it wanted to break up Betsy and Joshua and kill John, the voice remained silent. But one night, the voice said that it was the spirit of Kate Batts, a neighbor who had disliked John Bell because of some unfriendly business dealings between them in the past. Whether or not it was actually the spirit of Kate Batts is unknown, but people began to refer to the entity as Kate. Kate liked to have long discussions with those present. She would often quote from the Bible, which was a rather odd thing for an evil spirit to do. She also seemed to know exactly what people were doing at any given time, even if they were miles away. Soon, word of the Bell Witch spread throughout the area, and people came from all over to witness it. I feel like I've heard of the Bell Witch, right? One legend states that when General Andrew Jackson and his men passed through the area, the future president decided that he wanted to hear Kate for himself. But the witch caused Jackson's wagons to stop right at the Bell property line and wait more than 30 minutes before she allowed them to continue. When Jackson's party got to the Bell home, the witch cried out that there were 2 frauds in Jackson's group and that she would expose them. #exposed. But Jackson and his men left quickly the next morning without finding out who the frauds were. Jackson later declared, I'd rather fight the entire British army than deal with the Bell Witch. Ooh, I don't think that's what he sounded like. The torment continues. The activity at the Bell House went on for almost 3 years. 3 years. What a conveniently magical number. And even though Betsy was under constant attack, John Bell was the main target of the witch's abuse. From time to time, John would fall deathly ill. Sometimes his tongue swelled so badly that he could barely speak or swallow, and no medications helped. After some time, John would simply recover and seem fine, until the next time that he would be stricken with a mysterious illness. All the while, the witch would laugh and taunt John, claiming that one day she would kill him. I feel like this is just like brutal, like girl, just do it. Not to like encourage that, but you know what I'm saying, like make up your mind, I guess. On December 20th, 1820, John Bell was found dead in his bed. Next to his bed, his family found a new medicine bottle that contained a mysterious liquid. John's son stuck his finger in the bottle and then got a cat to lick the substance off. The cat died almost immediately. At that moment, it became clear to everyone that the witch had poisoned John Bell. When John was laid to rest in the family cemetery, some people reported hearing the Bell Witch laugh out loud at the fact that she had succeeded in her mission to kill him. Unfinished business. But Kate's work wasn't done. She continued to focus on breaking up Betsy and Joshua Gardner. Finally, in the spring of 1821, Betsy ended the relationship. After that, the Bell Witch left, but she promised to return in 7 years to check up on the family. According to legend, Kate did return in 1828. At that time, she visited the home of John Bell Jr. She apparently stayed for several weeks and had many casual conversations with John Jr., but she refused to explain why she had killed John Sr. or why she wanted to break up Betsy and Joshua. What was the reason? Before Kate left again, she promised to return in 107 years. But 1935 came and went without the Bell Witch making an appearance. Or maybe she never really left the area. Down into the cave. A large cave is located on the former property of John Bell. Many people believe that the Bell Witch hung out in this cave when she was not actively haunting the Bell family. Others believe that the cave represents some sort of portal or entrance through which she would travel between this world and the next. Okay, cool, that's cool. I want one. These days, the cave is open for tours. Of course it is. It is still a hotspot for supernatural activity. People have witnessed strange sounds, moving shadows, and eerie mists that appear in photographs. So if you're looking for a chance to encounter a murderous spirit, stop by the Bell Witch Cave. But beware if your last name is Bell. Ooh. No, I'm just kidding. Ooh. We can do ghost sounds. That was definitely a silly one. I think a lot of these are going to be kind of silly. Okay, so this one is called These Amusement Parks Offer Thrills and Chills. Many amusement parks have embraced Halloween. They gear up for this spectacular event by playing special music, presenting Halloween shows, and providing a safe place to trick-or-treat. But the spirits that hang out at the theme parks listed below don't limit their appearances to October. These ghosts are the real deal. Check them out, if you dare. Disneyland in Anaheim, California. Built in 1955, Disneyland, aka the happiest place on earth, quotations provided, was the brainchild of Mickey Mouse creator Walt Disney. Okay, they're just throwing exposition into the sentence. But some call it the happiest haunted place on earth. According to legend, the Haunted Mansion ride is full of real ghosts. Sorry, I have to put my knee up like this because my leg hurts. Possible spirits include those of an elderly man who died there of a heart attack, and the pilot of a plane that crashed at the site before Disneyland was built. Also said to haunt the place are a teenage boy who fell through the walkway and a man in a tuxedo who lingers where guests get off the ride. A ghostly boy has been seen crying there, perhaps because his mother scattered his ashes in this scary ghost-inhabited mansion. I think if you spread ashes at theme parks, you just shouldn't do that. That's my opinion. Ghosts have also been seen at the fire station on Main Street, the Disney Gallery, the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, Space Mountain, Tomorrowland, Tom Sawyer's Island, Splash Mountain, Thunder Mountain, and even on the ever-cheerful It's a Small World attraction. Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. For a place that's only been around since 1972, Kings Island is home to a lot of ghosts. I feel like that's not a good thing. People have reported seeing a ghostly child walking behind the games and a phantom figure floating near a restaurant at the park's entrance. Nobody knows the origins of these two ghosts, but 3 other specters that roam the park are more identifiable. The first is thought to be the ghost of a young man who attended a graduation party at the park in 1983. After a night of drinking, he climbed the park's replica of the Eiffel Tower and fell to his death. In 1991, another intoxicated visitor unfastened her seatbelt while she was on the flight commander ride. When she stood up to wave to her friends, she too fell to her death. People have also spotted a pair of eyes glowing mysteriously near a fountain. Gross. Lake Compounds Theme Park in Bristol, Connecticut. I hope I'm saying that word right. When it opened in 1895, the Lake Compounds Resort featured a restaurant, a casino, and a ballroom. In 1911, a carousel was added. The facility is still popular today and has been modernized to enhance its appeal, but the site's dark past may have had some lasting effects on it. Native Americans originally occupied the land where Lake Compounds Theme Park now stands. In the mid-1680s, Chief John Compounds sold the land to white settlers. A few days after the sale, the chief mysteriously drowned in the lake. Some thought it was an accident, but others suspected that he was murdered, and others believed that he took his own life. A short time later, John Norton, who had represented the settlers in the sale, met his own demise when he fell off a ladder. Many years later, when the park was constructed, a workman was decapitated while building a roller coaster. Other workers were killed when they fell from a ride. A young child also drowned in the lake. Over the years, park guests have heard distant music, witnessed objects moving by themselves, and watched spirits gliding around the Starlight Ballroom. Disney World in Lake Buena Vista, Florida. I thought it was just in Orlando. I love how you can hear the train. It's like not really that close. Disney World opened in 1971 and is now the largest and most visited theme park in the world. Like Disneyland in California, a ghost is said to haunt the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. When the crew comes to work each day, the cat's coming. When the crew comes to work each day, they greet the ghost of a former worker who lost his life during the ride's construction. If they forget to do so, or decide to skip the greeting, the ride often mysteriously breaks down. Other Disney World ghosts include a young girl with long blonde hair who has been spotted on Epcot's Spaceship Earth ride, and a young boy who hovers nearby. At the Tower of Terror at Disney's Hollywood Studios, employees have seen a ghost that walks around the ride when the park is closed. This shy spirit turns and walks away after being spotted. Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey. Six Flags Great Adventure is one of the largest theme parks in the United States. It's also the home of King Dakar, the tallest and fastest steel roller coaster in the world. One couple had a weird experience while they were taking pictures of the giant coaster. The woman saw a young man who was about 6 feet tall with curly reddish hair. He was wearing a red plaid shirt. Her boyfriend had also seen the young man sitting next to him on a bench. The pair agreed that he was wearing 1980s style clothing. After doing some research, the woman discovered the story of Scott Tyler. In 1981, Scott was a 20-year-old park employee who had died while performing a routine test of the Rolling Thunder ride without the safety bar fastened. If the ghost wasn't that of Scott Tyler, there is another group of likely suspects. In 1984, 8 teenagers were trapped and killed in the haunted castle attraction when it caught fire. So many tragic deaths have occurred at this park that it's no wonder so many spirits wander the grounds. Alright, let's see what's next. The Haunted Bunk Beds of Horicon. Horicon? Haunted houses are supposed to sport broken windows, Gothic architecture, and looming towers. However, a modest ranch house in Wisconsin shattered that stereotype when it became one of the most famously haunted homes in America. The small town of Horicon, Wisconsin, is best known for being near a large marsh where thousands of Canada geese stop each year on their migratory route. But in the late 1980s, a small home on Larrabee Street stole the spotlight from the geese when the young family living there claimed that it was sharing the home with a horrific entity. Nightmare in the Nursery. In June 1987, Deborah and Alan, whose names have been changed to protect their privacy, and their 3 children began to experience frightening and inexplicable events after purchasing a second-hand set of bunk beds. This is creepy. I don't like this one. The unusual activity began in the room used by Deborah and Alan's son Kenny. First, a radio would change stations by itself. Then a babysitter reported that an unoccupied chair rocked back and forth, and a suitcase that was stored under the bottom bunk shot out, as if someone under the bed had shoved it. Kenny also told his parents that he often saw a glowing old lady with long black hair standing in his doorway. Fog, flames, and fear. As events ramped up during the fall and winter, Alan tried to talk to the spirit that he and Deborah were sure had somehow moved in with them. When he told the unseen presence to leave his children alone, he was shocked to receive a response from a loud voice that told him to come here. This was followed by the appearance of a glowing flame-like apparition in the garage. The fiery entity glared at Alan with 2 large green eyes. In early January 1988, Alan saw a misty spirit with large green eyes rise out of the floor. And he again heard a loud voice. This time the voice told Alan that he was dead. Alan and Deborah asked their minister to bless the house, but that didn't help. Rumors about the house being haunted quickly spread around town, and on January 11th, the family moved out and threw the bunk beds in a distant landfill. By January 21st, throngs of people who hoped to see some paranormal action had gathered on Larrabee Street. In fact, the Horicon police had to patrol the area because of increased traffic and trespassers. At the same time, the gossip grew wilder. Area newspapers reported that the house had blood dripping from the ceiling, that strange graffiti had materialized on the walls, that the family's snowblower was seen racing around the yard by itself, and that the home's basement had a large hole in the floor that served as a gateway to hell. In short, the gossip was almost scarier than the family's actual experience. Fame but no fortune. Milwaukee Sentinel reporter James Nelson tracked down the family at a relative's house. He wrote a series of articles based on exclusive interviews with Alan and Deborah, who agreed to participate on the condition that he change their names. The Associated Press then spread the story far and wide. The National Enquirer offered the couple $5,000 for their story, but they declined, even though they had lost about $3,000 by abandoning the house. Later in 1988, the TV show Unsolved Mysteries filmed an episode about the haunted house in Oregon. Actors played the roles of Alan and his son, whose chilling encounters with the evil presence stopped after the family moved and the bunk beds were trashed. Skeptics claim that the family made up the story, but because the couple shied away from publicity and turned down offers of money, and even suffered considerable financial loss, the Horkin chief of police, the family's minister, and the Sentinel reporter all stated their belief in Alan and Deborah's story. We can only hope that the couple buried those bunk beds very deep in that landfill. So I've only told a few stories. So we're only a few stories in, and I'm already starting to lose my speech. And it's 1 a.m, and I'm gonna pick this up another night. So, good night for now. Hello again. Same flannel, different night. Same cat sitting with me. She has something to say. She's gonna bother me during this for sure, because it's earlier and she knows I'm more awake and will give her attention. But I have more stories to read. I only got through three stories last night. So I need to do at least 3 more. Because you're not going to just fall asleep after 3 stories. The next story is called "This Cemetery is Number 1 Among Spirits." In one of the most haunted cities in America, you're bound to find ghosts if you know where to look. And even if you don't, keep in mind that old buildings, new buildings, and cemeteries all attract restless spirits. Among the cemeteries in New Orleans, one is known as the most haunted of them all, St. Louis Cemetery, number 1. In New Orleans, do they say Louis or Louis or Louise? That's the question of the day. Looking spooky. When European immigrants first settled in New Orleans, they needed a place to bury their dead. But unfortunately, in New Orleans, that isn't as easy as it sounds. The city lies below sea level, so anything buried eventually pops back up to the surface due to the water level. That's why the city is full of above-ground cemeteries where the dead are placed in tombs or vaults. So instead of the tiny tombstones you see in graveyards in other parts of the country, the cemeteries in New Orleans are full of structures that are large enough to hold a coffin or several. These cemeteries are known as cities of the dead. Near the French Quarter, you'll find St. Louis Cemetery number 1. Established in 1789, it's a beautiful place that's full of historical significance and ghosts. In fact, many consider it the most haunted cemetery in America. Just the look of St. Louis Cemetery is enough to send shivers down your spine. That's probably why it has been featured in several Hollywood movies, including Interview with the Vampire, 1994. New Orleans is known for its many cultures, and the variety of burial traditions on display at St. Louis Cemetery showcases this. French. Oh, I'm so sorry. I keep pulling the book back and forth. I have old people's shoulders, except for I'm young, and it's not good. And this cat is making me better. French, Irish, and Spanish settlers are among the earliest people who were buried there. Today there are marble tombs mixed with crumbling rocks. The graveyard's narrow rows and winding paths lead to dead ends and confusion. It's no wonder that visitors report hearing eerie sounds in this otherworldly place. Is it the wind? Or is it the sound of spirits filling the air with their weeping and moaning? Ghostly figures and phantom mists hover near the tombs. Some of the spirits are thought to be well-known people. Others are anonymous, but no less frightening. Downcast spirits. One often seen spirit is Henry. Poor Henry gave the deed to his tomb to a lady friend to have on hand when he died. Without his knowledge, she sold the plot while he was still alive. So when he died years later, he had to be buried in a potter's field, a cemetery for the poor. To this day, Henry is seen wandering through the cemetery. Perhaps he's searching for a better place to spend his eternal rest. This is devastating. Some say that he has even asked mourners if there would be room for him in their loved one's tomb. And if you like animals, St. Louis Cemetery is a place to see a few ghostly pets that wander among the tombs. All are friendly and are thought to be pets that belong to a 19th century groundskeeper. That's so cute. They seem to be looking for their beloved master. Oh my gosh. Voodoo resides here. The most famous spirit at St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 is that of Marie Laveau, the voodoo priestess of New Orleans. She died in 1881, but her spirit still haunts the grounds. Some say that she comes alive each year on June 23rd to lead her voodoo followers. During these periods of resurrection, her spirit is often seen wearing a distinctive red and white turban with 7 knots. And if you don't happen to spot her ghost, you might just hear her mumbling voodoo curses. She also has been known to appear as a huge black cat. You'll recognize this specter by its glowing red eyes. Okay, iconic. I want to do that. Those brave enough to approach Marie Laveau's tomb will want to follow this ritual. Make 3 X's on the tombstone. Turn around 3 times. Then knock 3 times on the stone, and your wish will be granted. And whatever you do, be sure to leave a gift. You definitely don't want to respect the voodoo priestess. No ghostly groupie for this celeb. Apparently, ghosts aren't starstruck by celebrities. Actor Charles S. Dutton has been in more than 80 films and TV shows, including Rudy, Rock, and House MD. But that didn't matter to one ghostly resident of St. Louis Cemetery. As Charles recounted in an episode of Celebrity Ghost Stories, he was in New Orleans directing a movie in 2006 when he and his girlfriend decided to visit the old cemetery to look for the grave of Marie Laveau. After much searching, they found the tomb and were admiring the many gifts in front of it when they noticed that a nearby grave, which was marked Duplessis 1850, had been broken open. The casket was pulled out and its lid was opened about 5 inches. Pure curiosity made them look inside. There they saw a skeleton with a colorful scarf around its neck. Charles decided to close the coffin and shove it back into the tomb so that it wasn't exposed to the elements. It was getting late by then, and his girlfriend begged him to leave, but he kept working. Suddenly, the couple felt a presence behind them. They turned and saw a raggedly dressed man wearing the same scarf around his neck as the skeleton in the coffin. When the two men made eye contact, Charles felt as if the man was looking straight through his soul. The man eventually turned around and walked away, but when Charles tried to follow him, the man simply turned a corner and vanished. Charles was convinced that he and his girlfriend had just met Mr. Duplessis, the man into whose casket they had peered. Spooky, spooky, spooky. That's the end of that story. Earlier, we mentioned Disneyland in the theme parks section. That was what I read last night. And now there's one that focuses specifically on just Disneyland. And it's called The Happiest Haunted Place on Earth? Question mark. According to the folks at Disneyland, the Haunted Mansion is home to 999 ghosts, and there's room for one more. But some people believe that the 1,000th ghost is already there, and that it's no special effect. In fact, many spirits are said to linger at the Magic Kingdom long after the last guest has left for the day. The Haunted Mansion. Timmy is the most well-known real ghost at the Haunted Mansion. Timmy was a young boy who loved the Haunted Mansion ride very much. In fact, he loved it so much that after he died unexpectedly, his mother asked the park for permission to scatter his ashes throughout the attraction. When the park refused, she was outraged. As the story goes, Timmy's mother took matters into her own hands. She boarded the ride with her son's ashes in hand and waited until she came to the seance room. There, a harp, a tambourine, and other instruments float in midair while Madame Leota, the face in the crystal ball, calls the spirits to come forth and join the party. According to legend, Timmy's mother scattered her son's ashes as her doom buggy moved through the room. Ever since then, some guests have seen the ghost of young Timmy crying in the area where people exit the ride. That's like I don't know. Have y'all been on this ride? Like, that seems like a stretch. Like, because there's like a bunch of stuff at the end of the ride. Me being like, I'm a Disneyland local. Not anymore, but I grew up around there. During slow periods when they had the ride pretty much to themselves, some guests have reported hearing loud knocks on the backs of their doom buggies, even though no one was in the car behind them and no cast members were nearby. Some claim that buggy number 55 is the haunted buggy. No one is certain who's haunting it. Perhaps it's Timmy. But having a chance to ride in it is a special treat for ghost hunters. I'm worried about this. The sad tale of Disco Debbie. Another ghost that is seen at the park is Disco Debbie. During the summer of 1979, Debbie's job was to liven up the crowd in line for Space Mountain, an indoor roller coaster, and encourage guests to dance on the space stage outside the attraction. After work one day, Debbie was found dead of a brain hemorrhage backstage at Space Mountain. She's been seen several times, often as a pale green apparition that's visible through the ride's windows. That's actually terrifying. Like, I really hope this is like a fake story. That's so sad. Real skeletons. This is like the fact that everyone who grew up in like the Anaheim adjacent Orange County area will tell you about Disneyland when you go with them. They'll be like, did Did you know there are real skeletons? Okay. Other dead bodies have been in the park, known as the happiest place on earth, and people lined up to see them. Believe it or not, when the Pirates of the Caribbean ride first opened in the late 1960s, realistic-looking skeletons had not yet been created. Their solution? Use real ones. Laugh if you will. I wasn't laughing. But the tale is reportedly true. Every skeleton on the ride was real when it first opened, and the skull and crossbones above the captain's bed still are. That's what everyone tells you when you're on Pirates of the Caribbean. They're like, it's real. Or at least everyone is like me. Like, I will tell you that if we're on the ride. The story is hard to believe, and the company doesn't like to talk about it. But Disney insiders insist that it's true. Same. As for the rumor that Walt Disney's frozen body lies in a secret chamber under the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, well, that's a whole other story. And it's right here. No, I'm kidding, it's not. That'd be cool, though, if they had that story in here. That's definitely gotta be like a Disney conspiracy theory type of thing instead. The next story is one you've probably heard of if you are into ghosty things. And that's the tormented spirits at the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. And when she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. Ooh. That one, I remember this. This poem has been a schoolyard staple for more than a century, but it's actually incorrect. First, it states that Lizzie Borden whacked her mother with an axe 40 times before turning on her father. In reality, the Bordens were murdered with a hatchet, not an axe, and Mrs. Borden suffered around 20 wounds, while her husband suffered 11. Still more than enough to kill them both. What's more, Abby Borden was Lizzie's stepmother, not her mother. But the poem may have yet another error. Lizzie Borden may not have been the killer at all. Father's dead. This one I'm getting into this one because I know it. Lizzie Borden grew up in Fall River, Massachusetts. In 1892, when the murders took place, Lizzie was still single and living at home at age 32, even though most women were married by their late teens or early 20s back then. So what? On August 4th, 1892, the family's maid, Bridget Sullivan, was in her upstairs room when she heard Lizzie screaming, "Come down, quick!" Lizzie shouted, "Father's dead! Someone's come in and killed him!" Andrew Borden was lying dead on the couch, the victim of multiple hatchet wounds. By some accounts, he had been rolled over to look like he was merely sleeping, but there was blood everywhere. While neighbors tended to the shocked Lizzie, she was asked where she had been when all of this happened. She told them that she had gone to the barn to get something. A little while later, the police found the body of Abby Borden in a guest room. She was even more mutilated than Andrew. Do you need me to open the door? So the cat needs me to keep the door open, because her litter box isn't in Lizzie was the only person who the police ever arrested for the crime. There had been a great deal of tension between Lizzie and her father for a variety of reasons. For example, Andrew's decision to will his property to his relatives rather than divide it among his children had caused much strife within the family. Also, he had recently killed Lizzie's pet pigeons, which he had said had become a nuisance. He decapitated them and left the bodies for Lizzie to find. That is cruel. Not long before the murders, Andrew had suspected that he was being poisoned, but he didn't know who to accuse. After all, he was very unpopular in town because of his miserly ways and shrewd business dealings. Drag him. The culprit could have been almost anyone. Besides, Lizzie had been spotted buying cyanide at a local pharmacy just days before the murders. This made her look fairly suspicious. In addition, Lizzie's explanation that she had been in the barn while the murders took place didn't convince everyone. For one thing, the bodies looked like they'd been moved, and how long could it possibly have taken for her to get something out of the barn? The verdict. Although the evidence against her was slim, Lizzie was arrested for the murders. There were no bloodstains on her dress when the police arrived on the scene, and no bloody clothes were ever found. A broken hatchet was located in the basement, but it could not be connected to the murders. With no solid evidence against Lizzie, the jury deliberated just 90 minutes before setting her free. After the trial, Lizzie changed her name to Lizbeth and went on with her life. She moved to a new home and lived a somewhat lavish lifestyle until her death in 1927. Today, there are dozens of theories about the identity of the actual killer. Some say that it was Lizzie, while others think that it wasn't her, but that she knew very well who it was. Still others believe that Lizzie had nothing to do with it. The sad truth is that we'll probably never know for sure who committed the crime, but the ghosts of Andrew and Abby Borden may want to keep the investigation alive. Can you still hear the screams? The Borden house is now a museum bed and breakfast that is made to look almost exactly like it did at the time of the murders. Guests can actually sleep in the very room where Abby Borden was killed and eat a breakfast of bananas, coffee, and Johnny cakes, or flattened cornbread, just like Mr. and Mrs. Borden did on that fateful morning before their brutal deaths. Ghost sightings in the old green Victorian house are common. MSNBC even listed the house among the top 10 most haunted houses in the United States. The most active ghost there seems to be that of Abby Borden. Many guests have reported hearing the sound of a woman weeping in the bedroom where Abby's body was found. Many others have heard the sound of footsteps, and some people have even reported that as they lay in their beds, an older woman in old-fashioned dress came into the room to tuck them in for the night. But Abby is not the only ghost that roams the B&B. Guests have also occasionally spotted Andrew. He has also manifested during seances that have been held at the house. Lizzie's spirit has also been seen at the Borden home. From time to time, guests see a ghostly woman carrying a sharp weapon. Could this be Lizzie, or is it the real murderer? Whoever they are, the ghosts at the Lizzie Borden bed and breakfast certainly aren't shy. Many guests have captured strange photos, videos, and audio recordings that feature unusual blobs of light, sounds resembling screams, and shadows that simply shouldn't be there. The owner of the house admits to being touched and pushed by unseen hands. In 2008, a couple visiting on the anniversary of the murders fled the B&B in terror after the door to their room flung open by itself and a lamp moved and lit up on its own. There are many haunted hotels around the world, but few generate as much paranormal activity as the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast. Allegedly, the Bordens don't just haunt their former home. People have seen mysterious lights at Oak Grove Cemetery, where the family is buried. And a few folks have even heard screams coming from the Borden plot, where Lizzie's body lies right next to the remains of her father and stepmother. Wow. Wow. So, I think that's enough. Haunted America for one video. I hope you enjoyed some spooky, hopefully true stories. And I would still love to do a part 2 of my own paranormal stories that mostly are just from this apartment and aren't even necessarily confirmed paranormal. But I really think that they're paranormal and hope that they're paranormal. Because that would be fun to me. Thank you so much for watching tonight. Like and subscribe and comment and follow me on all the things in the description and blah 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 blah. YouTube plugging all my things on YouTube. But truly, thank you for watching, and let me know what kind of content you would like to see from me next. Okay, that's it. Good night. Did I ever find the authors of this? No. Contributing writers: Jeff Barr, Linda Godfrey, J.K. Kelly, Suzanne Reisman, Michael Riedlinger, Russell Roberts, Adam Seltzer, Sue Svium, Donald Vaughn, and James Willis. No. No. Do you see her paw? You silly. Although the evidence against her was slim. Come back. Come sit. Or here, wait, let me put my leg out and then you can sit.